Humanity, I love you all with all my heart, with all my might. My videos are about love, infinity, creation, because this is exactly who we are. We're infinite, eternal creators. We're infinite energy, infinite love, infinite creation. We are infinite love, infinite energy, infinite creation. This is who we are. All because of the human heartbeat. All because of the human heartbeat. It generates the electromagnetic field of creation around the human body. Pulse of life, the pulse of creation. Power in the brain, power in the body. Systems go live, so we're conscious, self-aware, we think. We're sentient. We're intelligent as a result. And being sentient means that, having emotions. And where those emotions come from? They come from the human heart. We love with our heart. And then again, where does life come from? From the heart, the heartbeat. So you see, we live to love. That's our instinct. We live to love. So we are alive. Our primordial instinct to live, to exist, is a human heartbeat. So the moment we go live, we're sentient immediately. And then what? We love, because it's our nature. We love with our hearts. We live to love and we love to live. We all want to have a purposeful life, a good life, meaningful life, happy life, joyous life. This is all what we want, a fulfilling life. That's all what we want. Live to love and love to live. It's our instinct. Our instinct to live is our instinct to love. Why? Because love is energy. Because the heart is energy, it's electromagnetism. And then this can be measured at the labs. So love is a frequency. It's the highest frequency. It's the highest vibration that the human heart can generate, and it's very high, and it has no end. It's limitless. So then again, like everything, infinity itself, endless, limitless, so boundless. So all the other emotions that the heart feels, they're all below love. All of them are lower. So then again, like energy itself, the higher the energy, the higher the creation. Just like the sun. Look at the sun. It's spherical like our electromagnetic field. It's a spherical object, and it has its own electromagnetic field, and it creates this high energy output, right? Elements, hydrogen and the such. And all that creates life, right? At what scale, right? The earth scale that gives us life in the first place. So this you see again, it's part of the same. It's part of the same idea. It's infinity, it's spherical, it's electromagnetic, it's polarized. And this is what love is. Love is energy. So obviously if you love with your heart, which is what the love it has therefore to love, purposeful love, then by design, because we were created to love, because love is highest energy, so we create with love. You see? And then again, the more you love, the more powerful the creation. We make love, we have children, the most powerful thing, biology itself, and our instinct is to love our children. We love our children, and then we raise them and all that, and then they themselves become adults and they do the same. See, the cycle of life, self-perpetuating there infinitely. It's just the way it is. You see, infinity just acts in that. It's just the most beautiful thing. It's poetic in the way it acts. And this is what love is. This is what love is. This is who we are. This is who we are. Okay? We're infinite love. We're infinite creation. We're infinite energy. This is who we are. And we live to love and we love to live, thus making us, our instincts, right? So what are we? Well, light beings, light spherical beings. This is who we are. We're a benevolent species. We're a benevolent race. This is who we are. We are a benevolent species, a benevolent race, a heart-based species, a love-based species, a heartful species. Because the heart gives us life, and we love with our hearts. And we create the highest and the most beautiful creations with the love in our hearts. Not only our children, but also other things, such as the things that we create with our minds and our hands. Beautiful creations. And we've been doing this for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And we will never stop because we're infinite. We're infinite eternal creators. We're sundials. This is who we are. We are compasses. This is who we are. I talk about it in my videos because this is who we are. This is our nature. Let's talk about today's video. Humanity, I love you all with all my heart, with all my might. Okay? Know that for sure. So this is about time. It's about time. So it's the third primary element. The previous video. This is the fourth poem. The previous one was about energy. But this one is about time because, as you know, the third primary element of compass, time and energy, has two components, time and energy. So I spoke about energy before. Now I'm going to talk about time. Time in the way of a poem. the way of a poem. Okay, let's start this. So you can always visit the website and the information, y.house/4th-poem. That's y.house/4th-poem. Okay, it's on YouTube, it's on Substack. So let's dive in. If it's not now, when? The future doesn't exist. Time is an illusion. No more, no less. So, what's real then? Just look around you. This very moment is the only real thing. No more, no less. You only have the now. Don't fool yourself. Ignore this reality at your own peril. No more, no less. The sun will rise every morning. Your days will continue the same way unless you take action. No more, no less. It has always been up to you, and it will always remain that way. That's the gift life has given you. No more, no less. Okay, so I'm going to read it one more time and then we're going to break it down. If it's not now, when? The future doesn't exist. Time is an illusion. No more, no less. So, what's real then? Just look around you. This very moment is the only real thing. No more, no less. You only have the now. Don't fool yourself. Ignore this reality at your own peril. No more, no less. The sun will rise every morning. Your days will continue the same way unless you take action. No more, no less. But yeah, do more. It has always been up to you, and it will always remain that way. That's the gift life has given you. No more, no less. Okay, so let's break this down. Let's go line by line. So if it's not now, when? Yeah, that's a good way to start. If it's not now, when? When are you going to take action? When are you going to make your dreams come true? When? Tomorrow? Because you can't go back in time. So when? The answer is obvious. Here and now. Now is the moment. The only thing you have. That is, if it's not now, when? Now is the answer. It's always been and it would always be. Now is the moment that we have, the present moment. Here and now. That's what time is. Time is this, because remember, what is us? We are energy. Okay, this is what we actually are. Time is just relative. Okay, relativity is that time is relative depending on the energy rate, meaning the speed of the energy. Time is experienced differently. It's relative. Could be faster, could be slower, because energy is the thing, not time. Time is just a byproduct. It's the perception. Is the perception of it. Perception of reality, what we're living here, the moment, now, the present moment, here and now. So why is this the case? Because we are energy. You see, electromagnetic energy, electromagnetized, we are polarization. This is what we are. We are spherical light beings. We have a heartbeat that generates the human condition. The pulse of life, the pulse of creation is energy. Everything is energy. So the higher the frequency, the different. That's why sometimes when you're so focused in the now, on the now, when you're in flow, you lose perspective of time. You don't think about time. You just kind of like hours just pass. It's because of that, because it's relative. You see, you're engaged in creating, which is energy and stuff. So that's what it is. So when are you going to be conscious of this nature, our nature? Because we are energy. This is what we are. Time is just relative. It's this perspective. Because remember, because we are alive, our senses come live as a result of what? The electromagnetic field, the heartbeat, pulse of life, the pulse of creation. So then we have the senses, right? We got 5 senses, all next to the brain. We touch ourselves right on the face. We feel it everywhere. Our eyes to see, our ears to hear, our nose to smell, and our tongue and mouth to taste. It's all right next to the brain, all the senses. Because the brain is this mechanism that infinity developed, biology developed, which is essentially the decoder. It's decoding everything, decoding the information, processing it through synapses and signals. It comes from the senses, and we make sense of reality through our brain. Okay? That's why it's right next to the brain, because reality is the senses, is what we sense, what we perceive, and it comes through the senses. So then the brain processes it. It needs to be close to the brain so the brain can assimilate it. Because it's the faster, it's like the way it is. Just nature works in that way. Evolution did it because evolution is smart, and it did what is most efficient. And because the brain processes reality and perception comes through the senses, consciousness and self-awareness, then obviously it has to be right next to the brain, right? If you think about it, it's the fastest mechanism, is right next to the brain, so the actual perception, the sensing happens faster because it's right next to it. It's right next to it, so it's faster because there's a latency to energy and everything. So the senses are decoded at a rate which is electrical, and there's a latency. So you want to reduce the latency, and you do that by having it right next to it. The sense is right next to the brain, so there's no latency. It's immediate. It's live almost. Nature is just mad. It's just genius. Okay, so then if you understand this, that reality is perception, and we make sense of our own reality through our senses and our brain, and we are energy, and the reason why we have senses is because of the human body, and the reason why the human body exists in the first place is because of the human heartbeat, and the human heartbeat is energy, is resonance, and we are alive because of it, and we're created because of it. So energy, it's all energy. So it's energy that generates the ability for the senses to go live, so we can conscious and self-aware and experience reality and stuff. These objects, reality that we see, because reality, that's what reality is. Reality is what we see, what we sense, what we feel, what we touch, what we smell. The senses and stuff, consciousness, self-awareness is that's what we sentient. And what makes us special, is the heart. It gives us life, but it gives us the emotions, which is that next level connectivity. Because emotions come from a separate, senses are here, but emotions are like the next level, which is this energy, love and stuff, our instinct. So then we smell something, and then it brings up memories, and these memories have emotional attachment to them. So this is a nice smell. Like when you smell like flowers, it's a nice smell, and then you have this nice rosy kind of thought of a time when your missus gave you a bouquet of flowers. So that's it, So that's an example. You smell your mama's food, All these memories from your childhood come in, rushing, because it's the love of the food, because of the taste. It's all attachment, emotional attachment, and emotions are energy, so there's a cognitive load attached to emotions, which is what senses is. So then it's perception and all this. When you hear a nice song, it reminds you of the memory when you were dancing at the club with that lady that gave you a kid, and you married. So when you listen to your wedding song, then you start loving and stuff, and the memories rush in, and then you start dancing in the kitchen while you're making dinner for the kids. You see, because it's all about love in the end, because life is love, guys. Life is love, because we live to love. So instinct. So then again, it's all about that, It's all about understanding this. It's all about understanding this. When we touch that stove and it's hot, then we immediately feel it, eh? It's the reaction, the sense, and then we attach that memory, and it could be painful. But also, if we touch something that is nice, could be a nice sense, eh? Not sensation, I'm a fluffy surface. A dog, you touch your dog, it feels good. Your cat, all these nice emotions, hey. So it's that, hey, you have the, my beautiful pet, is you patting your pet, and then it's fluffy, it's furry, and then all this fairy and stuff, and you, they love my dog, I love my cat, hey, all these emotions pour in. Is that. So it's all connected. So why am I saying this? Because all happening now. It's all happening now as perception. So this is the only thing that is real, eh? The perception, the moment, the senses happening now. Life now because of the heartbeat. We are alive with energy now. All these memories are past, future. They haven't happened or they already happened. They're fantasies, they're illusions. So this is why time, the future doesn't exist. And time is an illusion because the past doesn't exist either. It's just a memory. Yeah, we think of it, but in memory terms, it's an illusion. Physically, we cannot go back to time. You know, this notion of time machines. Then again, it's a fantasy and illusion. It's sci-fi, eh? Because the thing about it is about physics. If you go back in time, say that you actually create a machine and you go back in time, then you're stuck there. Because that's your new reality. You created a timeline, eh? You stay there, that's your new reality. And then whatever you do, it's a new reality. Because you don't, if you go back to the future with that new self, then you are creating a new, if you go, I'm going to go back to where I used to be and stuff, then you're creating a new timeline in that present that is actually a new reality. Because the original self still in the original timeline. And this is infinity. Because infinity has the ability to create infinite levels of everything. So then again, if you have a time machine and then you portal into the past, portal into the future, or want to come back to the present time because you changed the past and you think you're going to affect the present, or you come from the future to change the past or the present so the future is better, all these notions, they are all based on illusions. Because if you create the conditions to have a time machine, you have the ability to tap into existence itself and actually go back to that moment, that here and now, the moment itself, when the senses and everything happen, the perception of reality at that specific moment, that's your new reality. And that's it. Whatever you do, the past already, the past cannot be changed because it's the past. It already happened. It's an illusion. It's a memory. And then the future hasn't happened then. So you only have the moment. So then again, whatever you do, you're just creating a whole new timeline and you will never go back to the original timeline. This is a fallacy to think that you can do the Marvel thing. This is all like, this is not based on objective reality. This whole Marvel universe of time machines and stuff. It's not real. If we can create a time machine, yes, let's say that we can, because we could actually. This is the paradox of time. So we can create a time machine. We're going to travel, yes, but that's your new reality. Wherever you go back, if you think you're going to go back to where you were, you know, you're going to go back to that future reality, the new one that you create. So you're splitting, you see splinters. You're creating an infinite number of realities as you move through time. Because time is relative based on energy levels and senses. So you will never go back to that time that you think that you're affecting. It's a new time that you're creating because the past doesn't exist. It's already past. It's a memory, it's energy, you see? Emotions. It's a fantasy, it's an illusion. And the future hasn't happened yet. So if you think you're going to go to the future, then you're wrong because the future doesn't exist. So you got to think in terms of relativity. So what's the future? Well, the future is a timeline that hasn't happened yet from this perspective. And if it does, because infinity allows it to be, because it's an infinite number of realities, because infinity itself allows this concept, then that reality doesn't know you. That future version of you doesn't know who you are. So if you want to go there to change it, then it has no effect in the actual timeline where you came from, and what you're doing is just creating a mess over there. And that essentially collapses. And what it means by collapse is that the future never happened because it hasn't been created. So you are living that present moment, and the history, the past, is just the memory of it. And because you come from a different timeline, you don't know that past because you don't come from that timeline. So you need to learn now and see what happened there in the history books and catch up to see what happened. And then the future hasn't happened yet, so you're not affecting anything really. You're just jumping. And this whole idea of the grandfather paradox is also a lie. It's based on misunderstanding. Because if you do that and it's that infinity and the way it is, if you meet yourself in the future, on the past and stuff, you're not gonna disappear. You're not just gonna become one, or just both of you ceases to exist. No, it's not how it works. In fact, what you're doing, you're just creating an anomaly, and that anomaly essentially is just part of that new reality. So you're gonna have two of you in the there will be two of you in the one wouldn't know who you are because you showed up, and the other one knows who you are because you came from that reality. And then you would have to do a lot of explaining, like in Spider-Man. Like when they talk to each other. Oh, who are you and where you from? Oh, really? Is that me? No, really, because this is me. You are that. We are identical, but we are actually different because we come from different timelines. So this is all this. Hey, it's, if you really think about it, objective reality, what you are doing is just, it becomes a noodle. It's like a soup, or the noodle soup is all this entanglement. That's what quantum entanglement is. So it allows it. You can do it, but you will never go back. You cannot change the past. What you're doing is you go into a new reality and live in that past, because it doesn't exist. Because when you get there, then the past already happened there. So if you're thinking that you're gonna change the future of the original reality, you're not. You're just creating the future of that reality. So you're gonna be like a crazy person going there and saying, hey, the world's gonna end, or this is gonna happen in the future, and this is what it's gonna be. And then everyone's gonna be like, who are you? Because then again, it's perception. Everyone creates their own perception, and everyone is living in that reality with the senses. So they all know what they know based on the memories. So you are coming from a different reality and trying to make sense of that new reality, and then it doesn't make any sense. It has no impact. So it neutralizes itself, meaning whatever you did stays whatever you did. And then you splinter into that reality, and then your former self just continue that life, and you will never go back to that. And if you cease to exist, in the sense that is you physically dematerializing and going back to that timeline, because that's the notion, right? You're not there anymore, you are moving to the past. Then again, that timeline ceases to exist in a way, if you are actually thinking in those terms, because you're not there anymore, so you cease to exist in that timeline. Because you moved away from it and you cannot go back to it. Because remember, what you're trying to do in the first place is to change the future that hasn't happened yet in the past, by taking actions that change it. But the fact that you disappear because you're not there anymore, then that means that that future will never exist because you're not there in the first place. So you're in the past. And whatever you're doing is affecting the present, which is the only moment that you have. So then again, you're not doing anything. So because the only thing that we have is here and now, really. You get it, right? I hope you do, because this is what it is. This whole idea of like the paradox of the grandfather paradox and all these ideas are based on misconceptions of existence. Not understanding what energy is, not understanding what time is, because these are incomplete ideas based on models that are incomplete, like the Big Bang and all this nonsense. So because these data sets are incomplete, it's like this notion, because this idea came from Einstein, because he had this guy, he has this idea that time, light is a constant. Nothing can travel faster than light and the speed of light, and that's why everything is relative around light and all that. And this is wrong, because light is created. And light is created at the heart of a star, photons and stuff. And then, so something creates it. Escape velocity, right? The wormhole, singularity, escape velocity, light cannot escape it, meaning the stronger, more powerful force, meaning it's faster than light because it can't hold it with gravity. Meaning light is not a constant because light is not the fastest thing. It's not the limit. It's not a constant. It's this ridiculous nonsense. So because of it, then you go back full circle and understand that light itself is just part of infinity, because the only constant is infinity, which is what created light in the first place. So when you understand that light is relative because it's energy and all these, then energy is the creation itself, and then you know that time is relative to energy, then you understand that then because light is not the fastest thing, then infinity is the fastest thing because it's the creation itself. So infinity is the only constant. This is why infinity allows an infinite number of realities if you were to create a time machine to start jumping around. Because infinity allows that. It allows it's an infinite amount of energy, so it's an infinite amount of realities. Thus, it's an infinite amount of timelines that you create, because when is the timeline created? The moment that you manifest it, and you manifest it with your perception. So if you have this machine and you created this machine that allows you to generate the necessary energy to go back to a specific point in time. Assume that you can. Let's make the assumption that you can. Okay, because infinity allows everything to happen. So yes, time machines can be created. Okay, because infinity allows it in its nature. Then again, you're not gonna go back to your timeline. You're gonna go back to a different timeline, which is the whole idea that I explained to you of perception. Because remember, you need to understand that you're trying to recreate something. And when you're doing that, you need to understand that you're not the only creator in creation, because that timeline has other humans with their own perceptions and creations that are different from you. And if you exist in that timeline, you would find yourself there, and that is a creation of itself, and there's our own consciousness and self-awareness that won't know who you are. So if you want trying to go there, to that timeline in the past, you're not going to the past, your timeline. You're going to a timeline that is different from the one that you came from because of the energy density. You are going to go to a timeline, but it's not your timeline. It's going to be a different timeline with different humans, different people, different existence. Might be similar, but it's not the same because it's different reality. Because you cannot go back to the past as such in your timeline because it's already happened. It's entropy, it's energy, it's just the way it is. He's already moved on, he changed states. So, because consciousness is that, then it's a fantasy, you see, it's something that already happened, so you can only go back in the memory. So when you manifest into that time machine capsule thing, and then you show up over there like Marvel, I'm here, ta-na-na, let's do this, let's change the future, and stuff, and then again you're going to a new reality. It's a totally new reality, and that's just the way it is. And if you find yourself there as a child or whatever, then that's a different person. It's not you. Yeah, it looks like you, but it's not you, because you're conscious and self-aware just like that person is. So it's two different people that look alike. But one is older and one is younger. And this whole idea that you're gonna go and change the past if you cannot meet your mom or do all this stuff, that's nonsense. You actually can meet your mom and make love with your mom and make yourself, and it won't be you, because natural selection will create a new version of you through your mom, and then that won't judge you in the past or the future, because it's not the way, because you're in that reality now. You're a human, biological, and if you meet your mom and then you cease to exist, or your dad before you're born, then you're not born because she saw you. No, because then again it's free will, it's the choice of the person, because you can show up and then you go and say to your mom, hey, I'm your son and stuff. Come from the future. And then your mom will be like, sure, you are, okay, but I'm still gonna have you if I wanted to. And it won't be you anyway. It will be that whatever. See, so then again, you're changing the so-called thing, and it's just blurry. It's just infinity allows it, but it's not the same original reality. It's just a new one, and then you're just creating a. Because you went there in the first place to change something, right? But when you just manifest that you changed everything because it's a new reality, you're not in your original reality anymore. So whatever you do would have no impact in the original reality because you're not there anymore. You phased out. So that ceases to exist from your perspective. And if you try to go back to that reality, to that specific point, then again, it's a new reality, and that one is not there. It just continues without you because it's infinite, and that's what infinity allows. Because infinity allows that. It allows that. It allows that. It allows that. It allows this. The infinity allows everything to happen. But then again, we're talking in very abstract terms because we need first to create a time machine, and this is very hard to do. And if there is one, whoever did it already knows that they just it's not the effect that they thought it was gonna be. Because then again, the whole notion of the paradox of the grandfather, and changing the past by all this time machine logic, is based on a flawed idea. And this flawed idea is based on time being the only constant, like time being a constant. Light being a constant. That's what I meant to say, sorry. Like the speed of light and stuff being the only constant and all that. This is not true. Because there are faster things than light. Then again, what creates light and escape velocity that allows the whole light into it. So singularity, which is infinity, all this idea that I'm just telling you, which is what it actually is. Then because of that, it just changes the entire model of classical physics as we know it, the Big Bang, and all these notions that are based around this constant, because that's why this model holds, because it has light as a constant. If you change the constant of light in the model, then the whole model collapses. Renormalization kicks in and destroys it. Because then again, because this model is full of holes, it has all these renormalizations, which is all this infinite energy that cannot be accounted for. And physicists call it renormalization. It's like all this strong force, weak force, all this nonsense is from this notion of like, no, you need a constant to patch it up. So the system is patched up and it holds up. And this visual, this idea of who we are, perception and reality from this point of view, holds up because it's full of patches. But reality doesn't work in patches. Reality is reality, and it is what it is, and it's infinite, and this is the only constant. So if they remove this idea that times light is a constant and stuff, then this system will self-organize automatically into what actually is reality, which is infinity, and light is just a phenomenon. It's a natural causation, a byproduct of infinity. And once you put that into motion, then everything makes more sense. And everything, the weak force goes away, strong force goes away, and the only thing that remains is electromagnetism and polarization and gravity, because this is the only thing, because it's the sphere, it's infinity itself. And then you remove all these, all the nonsense, all the renormalization and all these stuff that's been swept under the rug and all this stuff with fancy terms and stuff. It goes away. It ceases to exist because it never existed in the first place. Because these people are ignoring big facts. You see, they are ignoring big facts. They don't want to acknowledge infinity. They think infinity is this idea that's just crazy. It's not. It's the only constant. It's mathematical. It's physics. It's biology. It's everywhere. And that's the only constant, infinity. And once you do that, once you understand what infinity is, then these ideas of that we believe they just lose all the power and hold, and it's the fantasy, it's an illusion. It never was real. We just believe it was, but it's not. It simply isn't. It isn't, because time was created by infinity, by the singularity, the vortex of an event horizon. So it's not the fastest thing. Hey, there are faster things than light. Quantum entanglement proves it. And which is it's funny because that's why Einstein hated quantum physics, because of quantum entanglement, and he called this spooky science because it destroyed his model, his view of the world, because he thinks he's this smart guy and stuff. So he's full of ego, and then obviously he has this idea about relativity and time and energy and blah blah, and space and all this nonsense about light and stuff, and misperceptions really, and misunderstanding infinity. So it's a huge misunderstanding of infinity. That's what it truly is. And because quantum has this, what is real, quantum entanglement, which proves the fact that it destroys the notions of light speed being the fastest thing, because quantum entanglement is a lot faster, infinite scales faster than light. So then again, he hated quantum mechanics. He hated that notion because he thought it was so light. So essentially, he was wrong, and he didn't want to come to terms with reality, truth, objective reality, and unfortunately, this view of the world in a big way has to do with the contribution of a equation that is flawed in nature. And that's why there's a lot of fantasies and distortions and illusions out there, because we have this wrong idea of perception, because our reality is based on physics, right, in the world and stuff, science and all this stuff, out there in the communities. And then it's all based on physics and stuff. But what physics? Real physics or fake physics? If it's fake physics, then we're going to have all distortions, and then we're going to have all these time machine ideas, And that's a problem. Subjectivity, again, it's not based on truth. And because of it, then again, it creates a lot of problems, a lot of bottlenecks, and a lot of misunderstandings based on taboo and dogma. Have spoken about these generalizations. We start to this general theory, then again, generalization. They're generalizing a theory that's based on what? Relativity. Then again, relative to what? Relative to your notion that's based on what? Incorrect outcomes. Because you're not understanding infinity as a constant. You're not accepting infinity because you're patching it up with all these notions of weak and strong force and renormalization. I know I'm getting deep into physics, but then again, time is this idea, it's an illusion. It's just a perception of energy. That's what it is, based on what we create with our senses, because we are energy, is a thing, electromagnetism, infinity. So time is just a perception of it. That's the only thing that we have is the moment. And everything that happened is just the memory that we hold dear, because we are in a physical world. We cannot go back to the past, but the event happened and the memory is there, and we built it already. And which is what we do, because we are creators. We build things. And the things that we built yesterday, they remain today because it's an object, it's a physical solid thing. But the time, no, yesterday doesn't exist. Yes, we create a file, a newspaper, for example, with a date from yesterday. Oh yeah, but we created it. When the here and now happened, which was then. But then it's not that we can go on with just the memory. You see, you need to understand this notion. It's just the way it is. So our idea of the past as a linear thinking is incorrect, but this is just the way we live, and we have developed these notions based on these theories that are incorrect. But then again, the beauty of these theories, relativity and Big Bang and all these notions that are not full, complete ideas, they're not spherical ideas, they're not based on infinity, they were incomplete data sets. But the beauty of it is that it was enough. It was enough for us to get to today. So the contribution of Einstein is still huge because it allows us to get to this world where we live today. His contribution is still great because he actually wasn't fully wrong. He was partially wrong because of the incomplete idea, not being a complete idea, because he ignored infinity. He didn't want to accept quantum, which is infinitely small, which is part of reality. So, and then because of that, he struggled in his life because his ideas, and he knew he wasn't fully right. So, but he still contributed enough. I mean, the margin of error was small enough, right, that his contributions were accurate enough and precise enough for discoveries and things to be proven mathematically and physically, the GPS being one of them, and all these different things, the laser and other things that came as a result of his contribution that changed the world as we know it. But imagine now that we understand infinity, what the contribution will be. It will be immeasurable, just like Alan Turing's contribution, right? The computer. It will be immeasurable. So, but then again, Einstein, yes, he's a smart man, a genius, but then again, his idea wasn't fully developed. Because of the times, he comes from a tough time, eh? He didn't fully have the understanding and the wisdom to put it all together. But now we can, and this is why we live in the world where we live in. A world where we know who we are, infinite eternal creators. So then again, to complete the idea, I know I kind of spoke a long time about things that are not necessarily aligned with it, but they are really, fundamentally they are. So this is why time is an illusion, because it already happened, in the sense that time is not real. It's just a figment of our imagination, because we create it with our minds, the perception of what happened already and what's going to happen. But it's not a real thing, because time is only here and now. It's a perception of awareness, conscious and self-awareness, due to the senses and being conscious and self-aware and living in the moment. And that means that the only thing that really exists, the only real time, is here and now. It's the moment, because it's the only real thing, is where you create. The future hasn't happened. So if you want to quantize it, like quantum, like if you want to add meaning to it, then the way to think about it is that there's an infinite number of here's and now. But you just haven't gotten to that here and now yet. You will get there tomorrow or next year, if you manage. So it's the here and now, is the only thing. So time, this linear thinking, this idea, this progression, is an infinite number of here's and now that we lived and experienced through perception and our senses. Because then self-awareness is energy. And we are energy because of the electromagnetic field and infinity itself. So if you take the heartbeat, then that's it. The time ceases to exist, because consciousness is not there, self-awareness is not there. So it's this notion, it's energy. So that's it. So that's what time is, an illusion. Time is an illusion, particularly when you think of time as something that you can go back to. This idea is erroneous. Time already happened. It's in the past. It will never be able to, the past is in the past. It happened, already happened. You cannot go back to it. If you have a time machine, I already explained what's going to happen. You're going to have a hard time explaining to those people who you are. And you're not going to be doing anything, even if you take the actions that you think you did, because that timeline that you left, you're not going back to it. And if you ever managed to do it, then you would have no impact, because you weren't there changing anything. So when you come back to it, then life continued without you, and your so-called impact never took place, because you weren't there to make it happen in the first place. So, you see? So that's just the way it is. Anyway, so time is an illusion, it's a fantasy. You can just relive the memory of what happened, the previous experience, the past event, what we call history, which the only reason we know that happened is because of our memories. See, because we're alive and we can think back into those memories. And because we are creators, now we can document the past. So we have documents. We have videos, footage, newspapers, and then the buildings that we create that we can date, and we have all these documents that say, yeah, that's the past. Yeah, it happened then. Yes, it does, obviously. But it's not a real thing. It already happened. It doesn't exist anymore, because the past, as you call it, the only evidence that you have of it is your memory and the facts, the objects, the actual objects, the tools, the creations. whatever the mediums and media that you manifested and created all humans as creators. So, but that you're not going back to that past. You can't. You're seeing the object. You're seeing yesterday's newspaper today, not in the past, and you can see what the information says that happened, but it's already a memory because you're not reliving it anymore. Conscious is just a memory. You cannot go back in time. You can if you have a time machine, I guess, but you won't be doing what you think you were doing. It won't be that. It will be a big disappointment for you inventors of time machines. Because the only thing that you could do is go back to the here and now. If you go back in time, and then you do all you do, you will have no impact in this timeline. But you think you want to go back and say, okay, I know what it did. I know that they changed the future, blah, blah, blah. You go to that future, it never existed in the first place because you never created it. So you're not going to go no way because that future doesn't exist. So you can't go there. You're just going to a timeline that is in the here and now in that time. And if you're there, maybe, you might not be there. But if you are, then it's a different person, different memory, different personality, different life. And you're going to have a hard time. But if you manage, the only thing that you can manage to do back is go back to the here and now, meaning back to the time where you left. So you go back to the original point when you left. You got on the machine, you went back to the past or the future, say. You're going to have a hard time going to the future. Harder than the past. Because it doesn't exist yet. So it has to be recreated with your conscious mind, with your unconscious, and then it's tricky. So, but then assume that you can, then you're going to have a harder time in the future. Because these people don't know who you are and they're probably smarter than you. So then, if this is the case, but then assuming that you can do this and you go back in time or whatever, or in the future, and then you want to go back to the present, so you live the life that you changed in the past or in the future or whatever, then it will be inconsequential. There will be no effect. Because the only thing that you can do is back to the precise moment when you left, to either the past or the future. And then that means that when you go back to that precise moment, you didn't change anything because you're going back exactly to where you were. So it's like a dream. It's like you dream about going to the past or dream about going to the future. Might have the memories and stuff if this is the case. But you are the same person just with a bunch of new ideas and memories and stuff. And you might have to just do the same thing and you didn't change anything. Because this timeline is unique. It's here and now. It's created by all of us. By infinity. So then again, you're wasting your time, because if you manage to go back to your original time, and then again, you would have no effect in the past or the future, because the past already happened and the future hasn't happened yet. You might only have all these new ideas, all these visions of what the things that you learn if you manage to go over there. And all the things that you learn and the things that you saw in the past and stuff as experiences. But then again, if you try to explain that to people, so you went back to the time, you went back in time, okay, show me the machine, okay. And they did it, then they would have the same struggle as you. So you're creating this reality in which everyone that you put in through that machine just to prove the concept, you bring them back to reality, then they're not going to have any effect. They're just going to have memories of that timeline. And that's it. It will be memories, fantasies, and illusions then again. Okay, I hope this makes any sense. Because this is objective reality. Okay, so time is an illusion. Now you know why. No more, no less. Okay? So what's real then? Just look around you. The very moment is the real thing. This, the here and now, the moment. The senses, the perception, what you're breathing, what you're touching. This is the only thing that's real, the here and now. Everything else hasn't happened yet, or it already happened. It's just memories, or it hasn't happened yet. It will be a future here and now. It's a future present moment. But it hasn't arrived yet. That's why you live in the moment. This is why purposeful daily action is in the moment, and you're creating the now, not in the future or the past. You create now. So look around you, senses, establish your bearings, compass, sundial. Take action now. Stop fantasizing about this future stuff. Live in the future. Create your own future by building it now. Build your own terms right now, here and now. Use the lessons from the past as an experience, memories, fantasies, and illusions for you to create here a better future for yourself in this timeline, in the timeline that we have, time here and now, and build a. Don't build in the future because you can't. Build here. Okay. No more, no less. You only have the now. Precisely, you do. The here and now is the only moment you have, so use it wisely. Don't fool yourself, please. Don't fool yourself. Hey, movies are fantasies and illusions for a reason. Hey, that's why I tend to stay away from when sci-fi gets physical, meaning it gets into physics, because it's sci-fi again. So if it's not based on objective reality, and the movie is just like a fantasy movie or a sci-fi or whatever that's not based on actual accurate science, like objective reality, truth, then the movie is not good because it's based on subjectivities. And then that's why I try to stay away from this. So that's because then a lot of people form ideas based on these mediums and media, and then they start to think that they can do that in real life, and they might think they're superheroes and stuff, or whatever. So that's why I try not to fool myself too much and come back to ground myself in reality. Don't fool myself too much. So don't fool yourself too much. There's a time and place for fooling around, and there's a value, a positive value of fantasies and illusions. I have explained this before. But don't fool yourself about time. Don't dwell on the past, don't dwell on the future. One happened already, one doesn't exist. So live in the moment, here and now, create now. Create now because you're a creator. This is what you are. This is objective reality. You exist. You are real. You are solid. You exist. You have senses. You have perception. Create here and now with your identity and your true self, with your infinite self-awareness, okay? Please do so because this is just beautiful. Okay, this is just beautiful. Now, ignore the reality. Ignore reality at your own peril. Yes, do so at your own peril, because then again, reality is gonna move on, and you're not gonna be the one that's not gonna come to terms with reality. That's why I struggle with these people who believe or think, have these convictions that we live in a simulation and stuff. They're not. They're the ones not living on base reality. It's these notions of a simulation and all this is then again is based on fantasies and illusions, misunderstandings, incomplete sets, incomplete ideas, non-spherical notions that are wrong, subjective, and unrealistic. So ignore this reality at your own peril. Don't ignore reality, accept reality what it is. We're infinite energy, we're infinite creation, and we are conscious and self-aware, and we have free will, and we're compass and sundials. And we live to love and we love to live, and we are here to create, and love is the energy of creation. This is reality. This is based on actual science, objective reality, truth, physics, mathematics, biology, spherical notions of existence that are applicable and replicable, repeatable across the board to all humans. Okay? So ignore reality at your own peril. Don't do so. Don't be a fool. Don't fool yourself. No more, no less. Okay, the sun will rise every morning, and this is the case. This is reality. The sun will rise tomorrow. It will. There's all these ideas based again on the Big Bang and on entropy, the way they think of entropy, and which is based again on models that are incomplete,